All right, so here we go, guys. With Roe versus Wade being overturned, we are now seeing the logical consequences of that. This is in The Guardian. 10-year-old rape victim forced to travel from Ohio to Indiana for abortion. 10-year-old rape victim. 10-year-old rape victim. The case of a 10-year-old child rape victim in Ohio who was 6 weeks pregnant, ineligible for an abortion in her own state, and forced to travel to Indiana for the procedure has spotlighted the shocking impact of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on abortion. The story of the girl came to light 3 days after the court overturned a nationwide right to terminate pregnancy, and Ohio's 6-week trigger ban came into effect. Dr. Caitlin Bernard, an Indianapolis obstetrician gynecologist, said she had received a call from a colleague doctor in Ohio who treats child abuse victims and asked for help. Indiana's lawmakers have not yet banned or restricted abortion, but they are likely to do so when a special session of the state assembly convenes later this month. Abortion providers like Bernard say they are receiving a sharp increase in the number of patients coming to their clinics for abortion from the neighboring states where such procedures are now restricted or banned. Quote, "It's hard to imagine that in just a few short weeks we will have no ability to provide that care," Bernard told the Columbus Dispatch. But the case of the 10-year-old girl has placed prominent anti-abortion political figures in the position of balancing the rights of women and girls, including abuse victims, while defending abortion restrictions. Republican Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, mentioned as a potential running mate to Donald Trump in 2024, told CNN State of the Union on Sunday that she found it to be incredible that nobody's talking about the pervert, horrible, and deranged individual that raped a 10-year-old. Yeah, we're all against the rape. We're all against the rape, Kristi Noem. The question is, what do you do now that it happened? Do you allow the abortion or do you not? 95% of the country has a very clear answer to that. You happen to be in the 5% that has the opposite answer. Abortions are now criminal acts in South Dakota unless there is appropriate and reasonable medical judgment that performance of an abortion is necessary to preserve the life of the pregnant female. See, this is why this is crazy. Because if you're a 10-year-old and you're pregnant, that is life-threatening by its very nature. So you should be able to get that abortion, no matter what. But the providers are being extra cautious, and they're like, look, we can't allow this. It's insane. Cases of incest and rape are not an exception under South Dakota's law as it stands. This is what a lot of these people believe, and you need to understand that. The position that the far right takes has an approval rating of about 13% in the country, which is like ban all abortions, except maybe if it with the life of the mother in danger. 13% support. And now this is basically implemented in a number of states across the country. On Friday, the state also banned medical abortion by telemedicine and increased the penalty of the unlicensed practice of medicine when performing abortions. Jesus Christ. Dana Bash, CNN State of the Union host, pressed Noem on whether it was right for a 10-year-old rape victim who was pregnant to have to cross state lines for a legal abortion. Seeming to try to deflect, Noem said the rape of children is an issue that the Supreme Court has weighed as well, adding that the public also should also be addressing those sick individuals who do this to our children. Asked if she would seek to have the law changed if a similar case occurred in her state, Noem replied, "I don't believe a tragic situation should be perpetuated by another tragedy." So comparing the rape of a 10-year-old to an abortion at 6 weeks for a 10-year-old. There's more that we have got to do to make sure that we really are living a life that says every life is precious, especially innocent lives that have been shattered, like that 10-year-old girl. Asked if the girl should have to have the baby, Noem responded that every single life is precious. This tragedy is horrific, but in South Dakota, the law today is that abortions are illegal except to save the life of the mother. But asked if allowing an abortion to be performed on a 10-year-old would be considered as protecting the life of the mother, Noem did not rule out that interpretation. Quote, "Oh, thank you. Very merciful of her now." Yes, that situation, the doctor of the family, the individuals closest to that, will make the decisions there for that family, she said, returning the issue that for many Republicans is the central focus of the abortion debate. Wow. So it was like pulling teeth to get her to say, yes, a 10-year-old who just got raped and is 6 weeks pregnant should be able to get an abortion. By the way, I think in other articles they said the 10-year-old was like, maybe it was just a touch over 6 weeks in terms of how long they were pregnant. So they were like, oh, we can't allow it because we have the 6-week ban. I mean, that is, look, this is what happens. This is the result of overturning Roe versus Wade. What a point I haven't seen many people make in the context of this conversation is that Roe versus Wade is a moderate policy. It truly is. So the way it works is that first trimester, getting an abortion is a right. So early on in the pregnancy, getting an abortion is a right. In that second trimester, states, if they so choose, can do some basic health regulations around abortion. And in the third trimester, if states so choose, they can ban late-term abortion. That's Roe versus Wade. So in other words, all around the country, there may have been variations from one state to another state as to when it's allowed and when it's regulated and when it's banned, etc. But there was a reasonable framework that everybody had to abide by. And then you scrap that, and now a lot of the states go far right and go super extremist. And here we are. Now we're suffering the consequences of that. So how many rape victims are going to be forced to carry their baby to term? It's going to be a lot. And then what happens when these kids are born and people don't have the means to take care of them? And, you know, we have a dog-eat-dog, laissez-faire capitalist system in many respects. And it's like, well, do you want to increase benefits? Do you want to increase the social safety net to help these kids? And for a lot of these people, the answer is no. I supported you when you were a fetus, but now that you're a child, you can piss off. I mean, it's just, this is the logical result of Roe versus Wade being overturned. And really, we got to get to the core of the discussion to really defeat the far right on this, which is they say, no, the second you're done having sex, there's a third person in the room with all the same constitutional rights as a 45-year-old person. And the response to that is, that's absurd, and you know that's absurd. It's absurd. You know, when we're talking about gametes and zygotes and pregestation fetuses and fetuses that don't even have the nervous system created yet, so there's not even any pain, that is categorically different than an adult or a baby. It's just not the same thing. So now, should we have a philosophical conversation and an intellectual conversation about, hey, where do you think it's reasonable to draw the line? Yeah, and there is disagreement that's fair in that realm. But the extremist position of the far right is the least popular position, and that's what's winning out in many of these states now, because Roe versus Wade was overturned. And that's unacceptable. The 13% position is being implemented in over a dozen states? No. And this is what happens. This is what happens. By the way, I got one more for you here. Mississippi House Speaker says 12-year-old incest victims should continue pregnancies to term. So Mississippi House Speaker, these are people with power, guys. These are people with power. We rolled the clock back. This is draconian, this is primitive, this is regressive, and Pandora's box has been opened. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. So buckle up. There's going to be a lot more stories like this coming through. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.